Hattie McDaniel spills the secret she kept during Gone with the Wind. Hattie McDaniel was an extraordinary actress, singer, and trailblazer whose talent, perseverance, and legacy continue to be celebrated to this day. Born on June 10, 1893, in Wichita, Kansas, to former enslaved parents, McDaniel's life and career were deeply shaped by her experiences as an African American woman in a racially segregated society. Despite the profound limitations imposed on her by systemic racism and the racial prejudices of Hollywood during the early 20th century, McDaniel broke through barriers with her resilience and unmatched talent, making history as the first African American to win an Academy Award. McDaniel's early life was steeped in creativity and performance. She was the youngest of 13 children in her family, and from an early age, she showed an inclination towards entertainment. Her father, Henry McDaniel, was a Civil War veteran, and her mother, Susan Holbert, was a singer. McDaniel's family moved to Denver, Colorado, during her childhood, where she began to develop her singing talents. By the time she was a teenager, McDaniel was already performing professionally, becoming one of the first black women to work in the then nascent field of radio entertainment. In addition to her talent as a vocalist, she was also a comedian and a songwriter, all of which helped her build a foundation in entertainment despite the widespread racial discrimination prevalent at the time. In the 1920s, McDaniel toured the country as part of minstrel shows, which, while controversial for perpetuating racial stereotypes, provided a venue for African American performers to showcase their talents. McDaniel's performances during this period were marked by her dynamic stage presence, her powerful voice, and her comedic timing. However, like many black entertainers of the time, McDaniel faced the painful reality of segregation, often being forced to enter performance venues through back doors and being denied equal rights and accommodations despite her growing fame. McDaniel's breakthrough in Hollywood came when she transitioned from performing on stage to acting in films. She moved to Los Angeles in the early 1930s and quickly found work in Hollywood, though like many black actors of the era, she was often limited to playing stereotypical roles, particularly as domestic workers, such as maids and nannies. These roles were emblematic of the institutionalized racism within the entertainment industry, which relegated black actors to subservient or comic relief parts. Nevertheless, McDaniel approached each role with professionalism and brought depth, warmth, and dignity to characters that were otherwise written without complexity. Her most famous and groundbreaking role came in 1939 when she was cast as Mammy in the epic film Gone with the Wind. Set against the backdrop of the Civil War and Reconstruction era, the film became a cultural phenomenon. Despite the controversial portrayal of African Americans in the film and its glorification of the Confederacy, McDaniel's performance was universally praised for its nuance, humanity, and strength. Her portrayal of Mammy, the headstrong and loyal servant, stood out as one of the film's most memorable characters, adding layers of emotion and realism to what might have otherwise been a one-dimensional part. Hattie McDaniel, the first African American to win an Academy Award, is remembered as a trailblazer in Hollywood history, but there were aspects of her life and career she kept hidden while filming that speak volumes about the complex realities she faced as a black actress in the early 20th century. McDaniel's rise to fame came at a time when the entertainment industry was rife with systemic racism and discriminatory practices. While she became famous for her portrayal of Mammy in Gone with the Wind, 1939, the very role that earned her the historic Oscar, she was criticized by both black and white audiences. Many in the African American community disapproved of her taking on roles that reinforced racial stereotypes, such as servants and maids, arguing that these roles perpetuated the damaging depictions of black people in the media. On the other hand, white audiences and Hollywood studios limited the roles available to black actors, pigeonholing them into subservient roles and denying them the opportunity to portray fully realized, complex characters. During filming, McDaniel often had to grapple with the pressures of navigating the racial tensions of her time, particularly the segregation that was still very much alive in American society. For example, despite her success and fame, McDaniel was frequently excluded from the same social privileges enjoyed by her white co-stars. She was barred from attending the premiere of Gone with the Wind in Atlanta because the theater did not allow black patrons. Even at the Academy Awards ceremony in 1940, Where she won Best Supporting Actress, McDaniel was seated at a segregated table far from the rest of the cast. This indignity reflected the deep racial divides of the era, which McDaniel had to endure silently as she pursued her career. Another aspect McDaniel kept hidden during her career was the financial instability she faced, despite her fame. Like many actors of the time, McDaniel did not receive the kind of financial compensation that matched her contributions to Hollywood. Her earnings were far less than her white counterparts, and while she was a well-known figure, she struggled with money throughout much of her life. In fact, she used her earnings to support her family, including her siblings, and at times had to take on multiple jobs just to make ends meet. The pressures of managing a Hollywood career while also ensuring the well-being of her loved ones added another layer of complexity to McDaniel's life, one that she kept largely private. McDaniel's decision to take on stereotypical roles like Mammy was often criticized, but few realized the internal conflict she experienced over these roles. While McDaniel was proud of her accomplishments, she was aware of the limitations placed on her as a black actress. In interviews, McDaniel would sometimes downplay the impact of the typecasting she faced, but behind closed doors, she felt the weight of constantly being cast in roles that demeaned and belittled her race. This internal struggle likely had emotional and psychological consequences, as she wrestled with the desire to advance her career while also facing the reality that the roles available to her were often steeped in racism. McDaniel once famously said, "I'd rather play a maid than be one," a statement that revealed the difficult choices she had to make to survive in Hollywood. In addition to the social and emotional toll of her career, McDaniel also struggled with health issues that she kept private during her time in the spotlight. In the later years of her career, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, which eventually led to her untimely death in 1952. At a time when medical care for African Americans was often subpar due to segregation and discrimination in the healthcare system, McDaniel faced her illness with quiet dignity, continuing to work when she could. She largely kept her illness hidden from the public, not wanting it to overshadow her legacy or be used to further marginalize her as an actress. Her strength in the face of such adversity is a testament to her resilience. What Hattie McDaniel kept hidden during filming and throughout her career speaks to the immense sacrifices she made to pave the way for future generations of black actors. Despite facing systemic racism, financial hardships, typecasting, and health issues, McDaniel's achievements were groundbreaking. She carved out a space for herself in an industry that largely sought to keep people like her on the sidelines. Her legacy is not only one of talent and trailblazing success but also of quiet endurance in the face of challenges that few could fully comprehend at the time. McDaniel's ability to rise above these hidden struggles and claim her place in history as the first Black Academy Award winner is a reminder of both the progress that has been made and the work that still needs to be done. Today, her contributions to film and her courage in the face of adversity are celebrated, and her story continues to inspire conversations about race, representation, and the fight for equality in Hollywood and beyond.